I was a very active person. I really enjoyed riding my bike. We were getting into camping. Summertime used to be my most favorite time of year. It's just like when the whole world feels alive and it's just happy. Life with half a lung, I cannot breathe in this heat. I'm an adult who doesn't know how to swim, so I was just learning how to swim. Over it. That's pretty much game over now. Floating with half your lung is like, it doesn't really work. There were so many things that I just moved through my life and didn't realize how easy they were until they weren't easy anymore. I cannot believe that happened to me and that I went through that and that so much time was taken. I think I knew something wasn't right for a while, at least a couple years. But it was so minor that it was easy to label it as something else. But then the wheezing became constant. I lost the ability to be able to speak clearly without coughing or going into some type of like wheezing attack. So I went to several doctors, several appointments, asking, what's going on? Why am I wheezing? And then in a post-COVID world, a lot of things were labeled on like long COVID. There was all these like different reasons given, acid reflux, all kinds of things. Eventually, it just reached a point where it was so constant and so persistent that it could not be ignored anymore. I was coughing up a little bit of blood here and there, having a lot of pain in my back and in my breathing. An emergency room trip. My lungs started collapsing in sections. For at least a year or so before diagnosis, I'd had somewhere around 10 plus chest x-rays that were all normal. I'd had like a bout with pneumonia or something like that. So there was some pneumonia that was seen and things like that, but no visible explanation to what was going on with me. But I'm the one who pushed for advanced testing, advanced imaging. Advanced imaging, showed a tumor that wasn't going to be diagnosed with just like a chest x-ray or something like that. I got a call from my doctor directly and I thought, this isn't good. Like, your doctor doesn't just call you on the phone, I was like, so you see in like TV and movie shows, people get a diagnosis of cancer and like what that looks like. But in like the real life setting, it was, wow, my doctor just called me on the phone and told me she wants me to come in and talk about lung cancer. That was just such a, almost like hard to wrap your mind around kind of thing. So it was like, okay, it was stages of grief almost. It was like, okay, I have a lung cancer. And then you read about lung cancer, and lung cancer is really scary. I was like, I don't smoke or vape. I cover my mouth when I spray hairspray, and I cover my mouth when I walk past car exhaust. So at each appointment, you uncovered another layer of what was actually going on until the very end. Like the very end appointment was like, yes, this is a neuroendocrine cancer. Then I ultimately went through some procedures to start removing the tumor and then a final surgery to remove, part of the lung. We got the call to schedule surgery and we had like one day to get ready after I had had multiple other procedures. So sometimes I was having them done like a week apart. And then it was like, okay, you need to be ready for surgery tomorrow. I had no experience with surgery, so it was all just fresh news to me. But there were several things that were just so humbling, like my husband washing me with antibacterial soap that I had to use. I had a really supportive spouse, so I had to drink these like energy drinks and high protein things to like prep you for surgery. And we tried to turn it into something fun and something like, did you drink all of your juice or whatever today? Like we tried to make it something encouraging, but it was all so scary. I don't have a better word, but humbling. It just put all of your life into perspective. Like, what has my life been for? What am I doing with my life? All these silly things that you get up, or I shouldn't say silly, but to me, they started to feel silly. Like all these things that I made important in my life. It's given me a much more like carefree perspective. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff anymore, So as I move through life, even though I have this celebration feeling where I'm like, I'm cancer free. How fortunate am I to be cancer free? I was so afraid that I wouldn't live for my 42nd birthday, but I'm about to be 43. So it was so beautiful. Okay, but why do I still have this rain cloud above my head that's afraid that at any moment I'm going to get cancer again? how do I live with that and still be grateful that I'm alive? This little like fear bubble hangs behind you where you're like, what if it comes back? Or it also, you have a little bit of guilt. There's so many people whose their cancer experience looks so different that there was even a while that I was hesitant to call myself a cancer survivor. I didn't feel like I had suffered enough, if that makes sense. I didn't have to go through chemotherapy or radiation. So there was a little bit of guilt associated with it. Like, I'm kind of a cancer survivor, or I had a little bit of cancer or something. It's like, no, I had a cancerous tumor and it was removed. Year 41 was just completely taken away from me with being sick. I was sick the whole year. My 41, year 41 for me was, the lung tumor diagnosis, all the cancer testing. I might cry while I talk about this, but, and then I'm going to cry, having my lung taken out. And it was just so traumatic. And I am really having a hard time recently with, like medical PTSD. Like, I cannot believe that happened to me. And then I went through that. My husband and I, we joke all the time, like we have a fast track marriage. We had only been married like a month or so before I started having significant symptoms. So we've been married like 6 months at diagnosis. So we had this really new marriage where we were supposed to be in this like, honeymoon phase, but instead we were like, man, I hope you're not a widower. Like, that's honestly, that sounds morbid, but that was the thought, is like, I just got married and I'm not going to know what it's like to have a 5-year marriage. That's what I felt like. But I would say it's brought us closer because we went through something that sort of bonded us. There was a little bit of a stigma with it. Like, I remember kind of feeling embarrassed, and I had people ask me, oh, are you a smoker? I didn't know you were a smoker. Do you vape? And I was just like, no, I don't. There's this phrase that you hear in the lung cancer like community, is you just need lungs to get lung cancer. So just like cancer grows in other areas of your body, you just need whatever that body part is to get it, right? So for lungs, you just need them to get lung cancer. You don't need anything else. But there is a little bit of like guilt that I do feel very fortunate or very lucky. And I sometimes just feel kind of weird about it, if I can say that. I'm like, wow, I had a cancer that makes up 1% to 2% of all lung cancers. Like, what? Me? Why me? You never really feel like something like that's going to happen to you until it happens to you. And you can scroll all day on social media and see people and they're like the 1%, right? But seeing yourself as the 1% is such a weird feeling. Like, wow, that happened to me. Like I said, I feel fortunate, but I'm also scared all the time that the journey's not over. It's made me a respecter of time a little bit more. Like, all holidays are important. There was a time that I would be like, I don't care if we skip Christmas. Now I'm like, Christmas is important, Thanksgiving is important, or like whatever birthdays are important, whatever it may be, because I feel like you don't know if you're getting another one. And I want to make every moment count. And there's a little bit of pressure with that, but yeah, it's made me a better mom for sure, because I'm a little bit more patient, and I think I just take time not for granted anymore. I try not to rush through my life anymore. For a while, I feel like, I was just rushing and I don't really even know what I was rushing for. But there's nothing like seeing the finish line of your life to make you slow down.
Thank you, Regina, for sharing your story. If you connected with their story, we've queued up another one we think you'll enjoy. It's right here on your screen. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the patient story so you can be part of our community. You are not alone. Thanks for watching.